And welcome everyone. We are back for the U.S. Amateur Team West Scholastic Championship. Round 4 is about to start at 2 p.m. I know I accidentally said I think 1:30 in before I signed off in the previous one. Just wanted to make sure the kids were out there paying attention, and they evidently were, as Judith informed me. But round 4 starts at 2 p.m. And in this next round, I'm going to have very special guests from the UC Berkeley chess team. Women's International Master Ashritha Eswaran and National Master Michael Wang are going to join me. And in helping me call the final 2 rounds of this Scholastic Championship. And right before the round starts here, I just wanted to go over the current standings, and you see that right next to me there. The Bright Chest Dragons and the Fallon Sandwiches, the only 2 teams with perfect scores at the moment. And then we have the Dublin High School Gales, as well as the Bright Knights Chess Club, uh, uh, Dublin High School, and the Fallon Warhorses at 2.5. And then Bright Knights Chess Club at 2. A lot of teams at 2, including the Mechanics Juniors, the Dublin High School Gale Kings, the KC Coyotes, Fallon Broncos, the Fallon Impalas. Matchmakers Team 1, that is our very own Judith Stare, taking individual entries and making a team. And the TV MCC Fighters at 2 points. And then we have all the other teams right there. So the big matchup in the round is going to be the Bright Chest Dragons and the Fallon Sandwiches, the 2 unbeaten teams, and we'll keep an eye on that. And it looks like they already played each other. The 2 teams with 2.5 have played each other, so they'll be playing teams that are at 2. So exciting matchups as we see who's going to come out on top. 5 rounds, so 4 and 5 is next. The final round starts at 3:30. Fortunately, Judith has control over the pairings. So even if I mistakenly say the round time, it's not going to matter anyway because she's controlling the pairings. So no worries there. We're going to get ready to start pulling up games as they start. And I'm just going to get my environment all set. And I think it's going to shape up to be an exciting final round here as the matchups get close. And I'm wondering if how many kids have sort of picked up on the team concept here, that what happens in the other games matters. And as we were talking to some from the UC Berkeley team, what happens on another board for your team actually makes a big difference of what you end up doing. And I'm going to pull up 2 random games just so that I can adjust my chess.com board here. So strategy does play a part. I know a lot of the kids are just playing to have fun, have a good time. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for the teams at the top of the leaderboard, surely having a strategy is part of what they're going to be thinking about here, because they have a shot to come out on top. And hey, Michael.
Hey Abel, how's it going?
Very good. We are live right now. The round starts at 2 o'clock. So I went on so I could start talking about the current standings and where we're at. And then we'll wait for Ashritha. And
Yeah, great.
I'll start getting the games up set up as Judith is starting the game now. But National Master Michael Wang from the UC Berkeley chess team, thank you for coming on. And
Yeah, thanks for having me.
man, we were following a painful game that you had in the Amateur West as it was happening. That game against Stanford.
Yeah, I remember that game very well.
Yeah, and that was a tough one, but something that all of us that have played chess for any length of time have experienced. Uh, the time is running low. You're trying to make moves, trying to make something happen, and just sort of got caught on with that blunder. But uh, tell us
Yeah,
about that moment and what you were feeling, because we all been there, and I've certainly been there. It's just it's hard when you end up there in a match like that.
yeah. And as the saying goes, the hardest thing in chess is to win a winning game. So that was pretty much exactly what happened in that game. I think I played fairly decently, basically like until move 30. And my opponent started getting low on time, so he made like a positional mistake that I converted into basically this crushing attack. Um, but then my time also started getting low. And it turned into a time scramble. And um, at that point, I think he just outplayed me. He made these moves that um, I didn't expect, and that forced me into trying to like calculate pretty far ahead, which was like my ability to do that was limited by the time scramble, and that caused me to make mistakes. So he outplayed me from a losing position, and that's pretty much what happened.
And I mean, it was no trivial position. I mean, that was it was pretty complicated. If I remember right, it was knights and a rook and a pawn against rook and bishop. Or was it, what was it? I know it was like really close in material.
Yeah, it was the material balance changed a few times. It was I think I started making mistakes like right around the transition to the end game, where it was queen knight rook versus queen knight rook, and we both had a few pawns, and then yeah, and then the end game was pretty wild too.
No, it was intense, and if I'm remembering right, also you needed to win that game, right, to draw the T match.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah, so like you had to press and try to find something, which that in itself is really tough to do, especially when there's actually nothing there and you're just trying to create, um, you know, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
yeah,
And so now we're going to be taking a look at the kids in the kids event, and it was funny because in the beginning, when we started, hey Ashritha,
Hi.
how's it going? Thanks for coming on. We are live already. The round has started, and I was asking Michael about his experience with the Amateur West, all the highs and lows. Tell us from your end, because you were providing a lot of entertaining games. The fifth round was pretty wild, and just what was it like? Just that experience, highs and lows all over
hmm
the place.
Yeah, my tournament result actually doesn't reflect the the up and down of my games actually, because I think I got like 5.5 out of 6. But I think overall my games, especially on the last day, were just very like up and down. And I think the I kind of was just up on time most of the games, and so I think that really played a factor into it. And I think that's just because playing in the Pan Ams like just 2 weeks before,
Right.
and just I think that really did help in terms of like time management, because I think this was a longer time control than that. But
It
yeah, it was a
was.
very different experience, but I always love playing in team events. And yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, it was a longer time control, but you played it over 2 days, and the Pan Am was 3 days. I'm not sure which
hmm
one's more brutal: 3 games a day over 3 days, or three games 2 days. Um,
Um, I guess for me, it was the Pan Ams was more brutal. It could just be
just
because
more
of
rounds.
the types of opponents I played. I guess were a bit stronger, because even in the Pan Ams, I think our team did really well. I was on the same team as Michael, and we even if I lost a game, because I think my first 2 days were actually pretty bad. I got tougher opponents, and so here in the Pan Ams, I think there was like a couple of teams that were stacked, but for the most part, I was playing lower rated, I think. So there was a little bit of difference in the strength of the opponents, which I think helped a little bit. So
So for the both of you, the way we're gonna follow the games is go to the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/mechanicschess, and you'll view the games there, but just mute Twitch, and then you'll just have the Zoom link open. So you'll see what everyone sees if you go to Twitch and just follow the games there, and then just make sure you mute it, and then we won't have the sound. And then I'll toggle between the games of the fourth round, which just started, and I'll be pulling up a few games. But on the first board at the first table, something that you are not unfamiliar with, Ashritha, we have the two remaining undefeated teams playing each other. It is the Fallon Sandwiches against Bright Dragon, and on board one, this is the game right here. Actually, this isn't the game. Where did it go? Let me find that game. Champ Shivam. There it is. Is this it? No, that can't be it. Round 3. Let me refresh my monitor here. There we go. And not Draj. Oh, let me pull up the game. And you'll see it soon. Not. The reason is I was pulling up the previous round. There we go. This is board 1 on the top table. For the Fallon Sandwiches, it's Diraj Talapragada playing white against Jeremy Zhang, Sparky Chess Tiger for Bright Dragon Chess. And this is the position. Time control is game in 20 plus 10. What do you think so far?
It definitely looks like it's a pretty unusual pawn structure, especially for black. Yeah, and in these types of positions with these kinds of complicated pawn structures, it's often not intuitive what both sides should plan from a strategic point of view. So, but yeah, to me it looks fairly balanced, and it's anyone's game right now.
I definitely agree with Michael. Although I don't understand Rook D1 just yet. I think White's trying to play, knight E2, C3, D4 maybe to open up the position. But usually in these type of pawn structures, especially with that pawn chain on C2, D3, E4, F5, White should be playing on the king side. But as Michael said, it's really hard to determine a plan here just because there's less pieces on the board and the position seems to be quite close.
It's kind of funny as we follow these games. What we've been seeing is the round, it's G20 plus 10, and naturally, for what you're normally used to, you're thinking, okay, a good hour, right, for the games. And we've had full rounds end after a half hour, just because the Scholastic players are used to playing a little bit faster. So I'm curious to see if at least the top table with these 3-0 scores, they actually utilize their time a little bit more. So this was on board 1, and let's go to board 2 of this match. Let me change the orientation. And here we go. This is Eric Shen playing white for Bright Dragon against Dhruva Budukuri from the Fallon Sandwiches. It's a little sharper here.
Yeah, very different character from the first game. Pieces are flying everywhere. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes for good TV, but I don't know how sound it is positionally.
I think White's up a rook, but his king's in the middle of the board. I guess Black wanted to play bishop a6 here, but I think I can just run away with king d1.
And this is interesting, taking the pawn there. Might there be something now?
I think bishop e3. It's interesting to see how quick these players are playing in such a complicated position.
And in a match that means a lot, right? With the only 2 3-0 teams.
Yeah, this is these moves are happening at lightning speed, and it's a little hard even to keep up with just like which pieces are moving to which squares because um, my natural instinct in these types of positions is just to sit down, take a sip of water, and just stare at the board for 5 minutes just to get a grasp on sort of get an intuitive grasp on what's going on, what should I be trying to do, and finding candidate moves, all that good stuff. But these moves are happening at lightning speed, so
So
yeah,
so you're saying it would take you 5 minutes just to even sit and even look at the board with any kind of deliberate thought, much less make a move. And they're doing it
yeah,
at like crazy speed.
yeah. It's impressive and also a little a little
Yeah,
scary.
it's scary. It's probably more scary than impressive.
Even though White's down a rook, I feel like this is still anyone's game with the speed that both players are playing and how complex the position is. Although I think bishop f1 takes the rook back, right?
Yeah, it does look like king d2 instead of king d1 might have been a better option for
Mm-hmm.
white. But then like black has queen b4, and maybe that's what white wanted to avoid.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, perhaps.
And it looks like,
like
yeah, go ahead.
queen b4, bishop b5, rook c7, the rook comes over. White does have an extra rook, but in that position, like black isn't even sort of obliged to try to recapture the material. He can just go for the mate because white's pieces are kind of all in the back rank and not and his king is very exposed.
And taken. And after queen takes bishop, doesn't rook take an e3?
Yeah, that's right. So in this position, black has managed to recover the lost rook because, as you said, queen takes f1, rook takes e3 is a very strong. It gives black a very strong attack with equal material.
And even as this game is going, we actually have results on boards 3 and 4 already, and they've split the match. So the Fallon Sandwich is won on board 3, Abijoy Mukherjee, and for Bright Dragon they won. Ethan Hahn won his game. So the top two boards, it's all even. It's a 1-1. Um, so we'll be following that. I mean, the round started 14 minutes ago, and I dare say almost half the games are finished already in the whole tournament. So so
Pretty
so
insane.
that's what we're dealing with here. It's like action chess. They want action. Uh, let's move on to this game just because it caught my eye here. Uh, Dab Pac-Man playing white against 10 Draw.
Ooh, I really like that pawn on e7. White's also a piece up.
Especially that bishop on a3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this does look completely crushing for white.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to go back to that game where we're looking at because let me switch the orientation there. We got bombs flying all over the place here.
This looks really scary for white, and especially with opposite color bishops. That weak king on c2 can easily be a target, and usually in these type of positions, it really comes down to king safety and the piece activity, which I think black is pretty good on both parts of that.
And black nicely tucked away over there. Just got to be careful not to get some back rank trickery.
Yeah, black currently. I would say black has the initiative, but um, he can very easily lose it. For example, if you give white just two moves, say like rook d1, king b1, all of a sudden his king is safe, and he might white could start focusing his attention, say, on attacking the f7 pawn, which might be difficult for black to defend because, as Ash said, opposite color bishops.
And that's probably the idea. White wants to pseudo castle, right? Just get the rook out and run away.
Yeah.
And I guess the scary thing is if you look at Eric 100's time, he has more time than he started. So he's making quick moves, and Black is trying to be a little more deliberate with their thought. So let's see what happens. Let's see if he ends up being a cautionary tale for using your time wisely.
I think this position's a really good time, like point to like stop and think because it's really important what Black does here. Because as Michael said, if you allow Rook D1, I think White's on track to consolidate their position.
And wow, let's go back to this because we were looking at this earlier. White is up a ton of material here. And I don't see any good options for Black right here.
Yeah, this position
Does not
is
look good.
White's already done a lot of good work on this position. One idea that's popping out to me right now is say Queen B3 and Queen B3 check, and if Black blocks by Queen C4, then White has the very nasty knight E5 fork, and there's Queen B3 on the board.
Yeah, I really like Queen B3. And it seems like Queen C4 is like an obvious move here, but it's actually a blunder because of what Michael said. So I think that pawn on E7 is really what cost Black this game, and the minor piece that he was down before.
And we have a result in this game. Sam the Great got the win, got this nice little mate right here
Oh boy.
in his game. It's always fun when
Not
you
so common to see a mate in the middle of the board.
It's always fun to play pawn move mate on the board. So Sam the Great, Samyak Jain, gets the win over Ram Stewart, and
Yeah,
very cool.
it's a pretty memorable event when you're on either side of a pawn giving mate to a king, the weakest piece giving mate to the strongest. I remember it happened to me at nationals. I was actually on the receiving end, and definitely a very memorable experience, although one that maybe I wish to not remember so clearly.
What do you think of this?
This
I
looks
think White
pretty
is winning the
one
pawn
for.
race by, yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, look at
I,
that.
I was just gonna say I think White is winning the pawn race by one move.
Yeah, it looks like he
Yeah,
might
and
end
I
up
think it's
queening with
also
check.
because
Oh
you
right,
might be
yes.
queening with mate as well. Like if you take on F6 here and King F6 and King E8, and then you can just push H6 and I think it's check. But I guess King E6 also works because B3 H6, take on C2, H7, and when you promote H8 is mate.
Yeah, that's a very nice. Another very nice mating pattern.
And someone in the chat's asking, can you please go over my game? I was board 3. Now, if you say I was board 3, does that mean you're no longer playing? And there's a lot of board 3s. So which board 3 are you? Let me know your username, and then I'll see what's up. So Black in the think tank there. Let's go back to this wild one we were looking at. Change the board here. And it looks like Black played, gave himself an escape square.
I get the intention of when Queen G1 is.
I guess White's trying to push the pawn and then G4, G5.
Yeah, this may be part of the reason why you might not want to make moves so quickly in these types of positions, because I think Queen G1 immediately gives Black a lot of very promising options, say Queen D4, Rook E2, even Bishop B6, setting up that skewer or that discovered attack on the queen. Yeah, not the move I would have chosen I haven't. It's moving too quickly for me to calculate all the lines, but intuitively, it doesn't feel like it feels like white has maybe lost the thread a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I think like rook d1 instead of queen g1 would have brought the rook into the game and as well like prepared king b1 to make their king safe.
And Abijoy, just remind me in the chat when the round's over. I'll go over that game. He was board 3 on the top table, but your game ended like super fast. So just remind me, and then we'll go back and we'll take a look at it with our guests. I'm guessing something pretty cool happened in that game, so we'll show that. And you're right in that other game. Oh wow, something happened. We got to take a look at.
Wow.
We must take.
Oh.
We must take a look at this.
Oh. How did this happen?
All right, there.
Oh no!
Oh, you
Oh, he allowed the
Oh.
queen with check.
with check.
I think he promoted the wrong queen. So if he went e8 check instead of pushing the g pawn, then
Right.
king takes e8, then g8 queen would have been check, and you would have been able to stop black's check.
Wow. And here we are right now.
This is a draw though, right? Even if black trades queens, both pawns promote again, and it's a draw.
But can he take? Is there going to be a way for him to take that pawn with some kind of check? Probably not. Unless
I think he can take the pawn, but not with check because the white king can sort of hide on f8.
and Sparky.
Wait, I think if you go queen g5, king f8, I have queen e7 mate.
Oh, that's,
Whoa.
you're right.
So I think queen g5 there would have picked up the pawn.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
We found it.
There, yeah,
Oh.
there it is. Now he wants to trade
Now
queens.
black's winning, probably.
Well, he's winning. He's definitely winning if he can get the queen trade off.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's allowing.
Wow,
Well,
this
wait.
this is like
Queen endgames are always really hard to play for both
I'm gonna
sides.
say this is a draw just because it's too hard. It's just so impossibly hard to avoid the perpetual for white or for black.
I'm just worried about a blunder, moving to the wrong square, getting a skewer, something like that. Because they're playing super quick. I mean, white's got still more time than he started. Look at that.
I think black can try like queen a3 here, right? Oh, queen a3 was played.
Look, he's offering
and
the
if you
pawn.
take on c4, queen a2, Win picks up the queen on g8. So you got to be a little bit careful here.
Which he has been, and that's good.
But this pawn looks like it's gonna fall. So
Queen b2 maybe to be insisting on the pawn. Oh, queen a7. Okay.
Look, he still can't take that pawn.
They're dancing
now
around
the
the
pawn-
pawn now.
They're just waiting
I
for
believe
that.
queen a3. Queen a3 might be a threefold repetition after king d4. You got to be careful about which checks to give here.
Right, because they may not realize, and the computer's keeping track. So a lot of drama. And there it is. Repetition is on the board. And yeah, something happened. We did not expect this game to go this way. But white, you got to use your time a little bit better. You move too fast. And a lot of games are done already. Let's see how many games do we have. And let's follow Jocelyn Wren. So Ashritha, tell us about your development. Did you play team events when you were young, like elementary school age? Did you ever take part in, like Amateur West or, this type of format?
Growing up, I think I did play in a couple amateur West. Especially I think I played one in middle school and then I think one beginning in high school. And I did play in the 2017 amateur West. And in that year, we actually did win the West and
That's right.
move on to the regional playoffs. Um, and I think the one after that that I played was last year, 2020. And then I came back again this year just because I had so much fun last year, and we were actually super close last year as well. And so we decided that this we've had enough like losing to like getting second places, third places, and gonna come and win this year.
It's,
And
ti-
we made it happen.
it's
So
time to win. What about you, Michael? Like, when was your first amateur team experience?
I actually, my experience is actually kind of diametrically or the opposite of Ashley's experience. I think participating this year might have been either my first or second time playing. It was, yeah, I definitely don't have as much experience with this kind type of format as Ash does.
And Judith is in the chat saying that she even told them as the announcement before the round started to take their time. They didn't listen. They did not listen at all. And we're just really happy we had this event. I was telling Arjun and Kesav, who were on earlier, this tournament was supposed to originally be on Chess Kid, and then we were doing a practice run yesterday, and we realized that we were not able to pair the players as we normally do, and it was due to a bug that Chess Kid had. So we had to contact all 100 players that we were moving the tournament to chess.com, and we were able to gather all their usernames and have the tournament. So we dodged one there for sure. And again, nice shout out to the parents and the players, all very understanding and cooperative, and we got everything started on time. But as organizers, those are the scary moments for us that people don't usually get to see. But yeah, we're just glad we had a tournament to do here. And we got this game, and this is Jazz Fork, Jashith Karthi, who's a playing a lot at the mechanics, taking a lot of the classes that we're offering, plays a lot of tournaments, developing rapidly. I think she's going to be someone that's going to, ooh, look at that. Someone that's going to make a lot of noise in tournament chess over the next few years.
I like that she's taken her time here because it's a very complicated position. Black is up in exchange, and I think one pawn, but it's not at all clear because the king is quite exposed.
And you can there, yeah.
I think White's winning the exchange back, but I think Black's gonna get out of this with a pawn ahead, especially if you take on h6.
Right.
Rook e5 is a really nice move, picking up the f pawn before picking up the h pawn.
Yeah. And actually, Black's got the advantage on here. What on earth in the chat? Yep. Things turn on a dime in the Scholastic Championship here. You never know what you're going to get. And actually, already, there are only 4 games left in the whole round. And let me pull up another one of the remaining games. And I'm getting a sense of who is going to develop as a player because it's sort of the same people that are taking the longest in their games. They're actually using their time. And here's this game that's going on between Aditya Cheetah, who's playing black, against Bishop Plays, Bishal Das. And black putting all the right pressure here.
Black's up a pawn, and I think if they're probably better here, but I really like white's two knights here versus black's knight and bishop, just because the position's closed, and the bishop really hasn't got into a good square yet, and it's tied down to the e5 defense.
Is
Yeah,
white,
I agree with Ash. The knights really show their strengths compared to the bishops in closed positions like these. This is where they truly shine.
but doesn't white have to go knight e1 here? Knight d e1? Or no, he can go knight. He just go as long as he moves the f knight, right?
That's right. The
Yeah.
knight on d3 protects the pawn enough too. So
Right.
yeah.
And in the newsletter that just came out today, the Mechanics Institute newsletter, um, FIDE Master Paul Whitehead wrote a whole column on, and I put the newsletter link in the chat. He did a whole column on the board 3 and 4 matchups of round 5 of the Amateur West, um, where both games were rook versus two knights. And he was absolutely fascinated during the stream of that. And so he annotated the games and talked about those two games and the concept of, two knights versus a rook. So check that out. But Ashritha, like, what were you thinking? Because that was pretty complex, and you're playing your own teammate.
Yeah, so that matchup was really interesting for both teams, and I think we both of us came into the match ready to fight and play out. And boards 3 and 4, I think, were the last two matches in that matchup. And I think I was actually watching board 4 juniors game while I was playing my game, and I realized how similar both of our games were. And I guess for me, it was easier for the two knights just because the position was quite simplified, and I had, I believe, two knights and two pawns, and my opponent Christopher had just a rook and a pawn. But I think the key to those positions is really like how advanced your pawns are. And I think it was also near the end of the round, so like there was a lot of nerves happening. Time control was like many players were like low on time, so it was really like who kept their cool. And I remember especially board 4, the evaluation kept changing for every move. So it was like really interesting to see how that played out.
Yeah, I was asking Arjun about that, and what do you think of this position here now?
Well, I think black had a two pawn advantage earlier, and that's usually, even though rook endgames are drawish by nature, two pawns are usually enough. But now white has recovered one of the pawns, and I think black is still winning because he can push b4 and just get those two advanced connected pass pawns, which are so powerful against rooks. But he might also be losing the g5 pawn, which yeah, it's not completely clear, but I think black still has the upper hand.
And Ashritha and Michael, so we had faced that situation at the amateur where the A and the B team were the only undefeated, and you were going into round 5, and we sort of had no idea what the thinking was, whether you were gonna do friendly draw, save your energy for the final round, and then two Cal teams have a chance to go, or we're just gonna throw everything to the wall and just claw at each other and last man standing. I asked Arjun and Kesov about it, and so now I want to ask you about it because we were sort of kidding around in the chat. You asked me hypothetically how would I feel if it ended up in a draw, right? I sort of passed on that, and I said I was rooting for the other team, right? That wasn't one of those two teams. But like, what is the thinking? Because it's actually a pretty fascinating thing. You guys clearly, went all out against each other, and it was an entertaining round, and fun to watch. But is did you know that ahead of time that we're gonna go all out and may the best person win, or like what was the thinking, or did the round just develop in a way where, all right, I'm going for blood then, and we're gonna try to win.
Yeah, so
Um,
I was actually on the C team, but it was very fun to watch sort of the A and the B team duke it out that round because um I sort of knew like there would not be any like prearranged like grandmaster draws or any of that kind of stuff.
Right. I mean, all
I
you
mean,
guys the same strategy, right? It's not like, okay, the C team's gonna do this, then the D team, like all you guys are on the same page, right?
oh yeah, well
mhm.
I mean we only had one strategy the entire tournament, which was to win every
To
game.
win. Good. I love it.
Um, yeah, so I think actually before the round started, before the pairings came out, actually, we were all on a group call, waiting for the previous round to finish. And we kind of realized that A and B were going to play each other. And then the question came up, did we want to, like, get easy draws and we both of us would be on 4.5 out of 5 going into the last round and both teams would have equal chances. But I think that idea was quickly shot down just because, we know a lot of people were watching this, and we really wanted to fight it out. Many of us were going for individual board prizes, and we really wanted to like just have fun. And whether we drew or we won, it didn't really matter because the team was gonna one of the teams or both of them were gonna be on the top table. So,
Right.
and any one Berkeley team victory is a victory for the entire school, everyone on the team. So, um, taking all this into account, we just decided to play for it, and whatever happens, happens.
And
Um, yeah.
I love that attitude. And I was saying to Arjun and Kesov earlier, right? I'm sure you guys consider a victory for one is a victory for all. And when you have that mentality, you can fight it out like that, and there's no lose, because even if one of the teams won, right, that's just another team that's closer to the title, right? And it's good to see, because I'm not a fan of let's just shake hands and move on, and it's like I love seeing the competition, but especially like that, because there is nothing to lose if you're truly a team in that way, where you're rooting for the other person as much as you'd be rooting for yourself. Um, Probably not individually as you're playing, but it was exciting to watch, as Judith in the chat is saying. It was actually a lot of fun. It was probably the most entertaining round, and we had a lot of great rounds in that tournament. So who's winning here?
Um,
This is the last game of the round.
This is a crazy position. Very complex again. Um, I like Black's pawn, but as much as I like those pawns, I really like White's king activity. And there's even mate chances here just because Black got their king stuck on the edge of the board. And this pawn on a5 is actually helpful for, um, I guess, for White because there's no rook b6 check or anything. Um,
yeah, it's starting to get into this kind of pawn race, almost like the type of pawn race that you see more often in king and pawn endings as opposed to king and rook end games. And there are situations where black and white, or white and black both promote on the same move, but white can promote with check, and then it leads to like a queen and rook versus queen and rook kind of ending, where whoever gives the first check pretty much wins the end game. So maybe the tables have completely flipped here, and white is now winning in this position.
And just because they'll be able to push
e6. Although
That's a
doesn't
blunder,
this
I think.
drop? Yeah, because I think
yeah.
Black can just take on c7, e7, and rook b8 at the end.
Yeah, or
Um,
even king d7, king f7, rook e5. That's
yeah,
black is low on time though.
that's true. I think really in these tough positions, it comes down to how you handle your nerves in time of trouble.
Yeah, and we've actually seen things blow up where people are low on time, and then just kind of things go by the wayside. But this was definitely a miscalculation, and it's unfortunate because White had plenty of time to try to work this out.
Yep, and there goes the rook.
Yep, and then rook b8. Last game of the round here, and then when the round ends, we'll take a look at the standings. And thank you, Abijoy. I am writing it down, Abijoy too, and we'll take a look at your game. Uh, board 3 on the top table, and the final round will start at 3:30. 3:30 will be the final round. And then if we have a little bit time before the next round, maybe we can take a look at that game between Ashritha and Christopher Pan from round 5 of the U.S. Amateur Team West. So you are in school. What are you studying, Michael? Are you math or computers?
Yeah, math.
what about you, Ashritha?
I'm actually double majoring in math and data science.
I asked the other guys. I said, "Is anyone a non-math or science related?" And they said pretty much no. Everyone is some. They said no. Someone's economics. I go, oh, yeah, well that's math. That's like nothing but math. But yeah, no social sciences among the elite chess players. And here we go. Jashith closes the show with a mate and closes out round 4 of the Amateur West. So as soon as Judith and the tournament directing team update the standings, we'll put them up. We'll talk about it. We'll see who's on top. We'll see who can win and sort of break all of that down. But for the moment, and I promised, Abijoy on board 3. Let me find you. And let's take a look at this game. This game ended pretty quick, so something dramatic had to have happened. Because the next thing you know, Abijoy M2. So now I gotta find you. I gotta find your game. So it had to be this one, right? 130. Yeah, this was it. Okay, let me fix so that everyone can see what I see. And this better be a good game, Abijoy. If this is like you won because of a big blunder, I'm going to be a little disappointed. So let's take a look at Abijoy Mukherjee. 947 rated, playing white for the Fallon Sandwiches against Sean Zhang. 430 rated, playing black for Bright Dragons. So Abijoy's white here. So let's oh, there we go. Let's take a look at the action here.
A very sharp Nadorf.
Right? And then castle opposite way like that? Is that standard for this opening? Castling long?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the theory here, but there's a lot of positions where there's opposite side castling.
Did not like that move there. Whoa.
E5. Usually E5 is
Oh, look at that.
the move there. And I think it might be because for this reason, there's always this queen sack idea for 3 pieces. Not sure if it's in this exact position, but usually there's E5 also allows moves like knight F5. Yeah, but I really like what white did here, taking the 3 pieces for the queen.
Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, very sharp.
There. Wow. Oh, yeah, that was a blunder right there. Okay, so in this position, even if queen e5, which it's suggesting, I mean, the analysis is saying white is up a ton.
Hmm.
So fantastic. Actually, I wonder, Abajoy, if you're watching this. Oh, here we go. There is one game left. Yashas. I must have missed that. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Yashas 06. All right, let me jump real quick and take a look at that game. Yashas 06. And here it is, but I need to fix it. This is the final game of the round. And what do we think here? Interesting position.
Yeah, so white is absolutely winning here. Just kind of needs to get your head in order and don't drop any pieces, and then start slowly and methodically pushing those kingside pawns forward.
I really like how white's taking their time. Actually, both players are taking their time here, but I think white especially. And they say converting one games are always the hardest thing in chess. Um, just because once you get a winning position, it's really easy to mess up and get relaxed. So really great job for white for taking their time.
It's funny. Do you guys have that saying at the club? Because they said the same thing, Arjun and Kessa. The hardest thing to do is win a winning game.
I think it's one of like the many chess mantras that we were taught while growing up, and
Yeah.
it's especially memorable for a lot of us because a lot of us, or I think actually let's just say all of us know how it feels to screw up a winning
Oh yeah,
position.
for sure. Me more than you guys, I think. That's why I went into organizing. I said I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah, it can be a cruel game at times.
Now,
I kind of like what White's going for here with this rook b6 idea, if that's what he's if that's the plan.
kind of like block that out. And, or you, oh, but wait a minute.
Yeah, I think rook b6 would just take a6 pawn or bishop b6. That's interesting.
But that's kind of the long way, right? Rook b6 would have been quicker.
Maybe the idea is to get
I
the
guess
bishop
he
on
still has
a5
bishop
and then just
a5.
lock up the. Yeah. No. Okay.
Give no chances for black. Protect b4 and just push your g pawns. Bishop f2.
One has to be a little bit careful here because if say black goes king c4 and bishop c5, then and white plays bishop c5, then black has a5 ideas. Okay, but
Paulus Kings. Knights, Kings.
I guess bishop c5 would have prevented black from taking on b4 because you can always take on a6 next move. But this also is completely winning. Oh, that also drops the rook.
that's not what black wanted to do.
So white, it looks like white needs to win this game in order to draw the match.
I think white will win if they take on c5, and even if they don't take on c5,
Yeah,
they'll just
I think they see that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if white will stack the rook on b5. Oh, they did.
And done. Yeah. Just make no doubt. And I think we're gonna go for the rolling queens. When was the last time you both had a chance to do a checkmate like this?
Elementary school,
Elementary
maybe.
school.
Yeah, a long time ago.
So, Michael, what year are you? You're junior, senior?
I'm a second year. I'm a sophomore.
So, oh, sophomore. Wow. So, and you're the same, Ashritha?
I'm a junior, a third
Junior.
year.
Okay. That's too bad. And there's the game. And I think Yashas got the draw for his team by winning that game. Good job.
Yeah,
Uh,
well played.
and it's got to be tough to sort of sit a year out and not be part of the campus and that community and go into all the little shops and restaurants that are on Telegraph and everything going on. What's it been like for you guys to be doing college virtually, right?
Yeah, it's definitely not the same. But like these are very unusual times. I think we all have to make do with what we have and be be thankful for things that we still have.
Do you guys all hang together at the chess club, like your virtual club on chess.com? Do you have like regular meetings or you just get together when you can?
Definitely moving things online made it hard for us to meet, I think just because we're in different time zones now. And so for that reason, it's been difficult for us. We last semester we did have like these club lectures where people from our club did lecture, and we actually transformed our club onto a Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been doing a lot of activities on there. But I think um, the lectures that we had in the fall, no one really showed up, so we kind of took that off of our agenda for this semester. But we're planning to restart, Friday club meetings because when we were on campus, Fridays we had very memorable meetings. And even after meetings ended, a lot of us went to grab dinner and continued playing at restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, that's what they said. To the wee hours of the night, I heard. And when they would kick you out, you just go to another one that had later hours.
Yeah.
That is the college life. Hey, so you know, a lot of the viewers that are watching are actually the young participants of this tournament. We have a lot. Most of the players are around the 700-800 level. We have a few that are above 1,000. Um, what's like the most important thing for them to learn as they're continuing to develop? Because like any chess player, um, you get to a certain level, like 1,000, and then it becomes a little more difficult. And then once you get past that, if you keep playing, you get to something like 14, 1,500, and then it gets a lot more difficult. And what advice do you have for like the kids that they're going to be going through that? Um, and there's going to be a little bit of discouragement every now and then. How did you guys deal with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's not going to be a smooth road for everyone, or even uh, most people. Um, will have those ups and downs, and I think dealing with that, or learning how to, as I say, recover from the sucker punch, that kind of takes experience, and it's definitely a learning process.
And what about you, Ashritha? I mean, you've competed in the U.S. Women's Championship, and you've done World Youth, things like that. I mean, what's that experience been like? What's that like?
Yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs throughout my entire chess career. I've played tournaments in St. Louis where I've actually gotten last place, and I went like 2.5 out of 9. Not an easy tournament at all, and it just makes you, if anything, like any tournaments that you play by, I just take it as like an opportunity to learn more. And these tournaments really show you what you can improve on, and really improving on that can help you get to the next step. And that's how I took it. Like every loss that happened was just a learning experience for me,
And
and
but
just to help me get better.
but how do you get there? Because I mean, when you lose a game, you're upset. You start wondering, why am I even doing this, right? Right? It's like there's some point in your development where you sort of have like an attitude adjustment that, um, you know, I'm going to learn from this, or does it come from a genuine appreciation of the game where at some level it's really about what did I do wrong and really wanting to learn from it for the curiosity of learning from it, right? It's like, what does it take to get your mind from a novice level where you're thinking about winning and losing, and then you get mad that you lose, to, all right, I lost, but I'm curious why I lost, and I want to learn that. Like, what did it take to get you there, or is it really about personality, like something that you just learn?
Yeah, I think um, almost all of us, even at like from players of all levels, really, whenever we play chess, just as a chess player, we just have this kind of like burning desire that we want to win, and this is sort of universal to all levels of chess. Um, but converting that sort of frustration after losing a game into let's see how I can improve my game and um, win or play better next time. I think that's really something that it just takes time. Really, there's no sort of easy trick for it. Um, it's part of the process. The more experience you have, they say failure or experience is the best teacher. The more experience you have, and um, even like say the more painful losses you have, the more you'll learn from them, and eventually, the road goes nowhere but up.
And I'm glad you're both here to kind of say that, because I think a lot of the young players that are watching this, and a lot of the parents that are watching this, or will watch it when we put it up on our YouTube channel, I think it's, they're used to the coaches telling them that, and they're used to, Judith and I telling these kids that. But I think it means a lot that they hear you say that, because you are where they are now, and you have to take losses. Be curious. Why did you lose, and learn from that. And it's losing is a natural part of anything, and it's what sort of what you do with those losses. And you guys are at the top level. I mean, strong master players, but there's a lot of loss that went into that, right? And a lot of learning that went into that. So it never ends. So, just out of curiosity, what are you looking to do after college? Do you have that goal yet, or are you still kind of, everything is open of what you want to do after college?
For me, everything is still open, but one thing is certain, I do want to continue playing chess. Chess
Okay.
has been a huge part of growing up, but also I just love playing and meeting new people, and just the game. There's never you just keep learning. Learning never ends.
What about you, Michael?
Yeah, pretty similar to Ash. It's pretty fluid, particularly because of the pandemic. Um, but yeah, I definitely want to keep playing chess as well.
And one of the things about that, I remember like a few years back, I was talking to Daniel Naroditsky, and he was like a junior at Stanford at the time, and we were talking. And he's at Stanford. He's a junior. He's going to graduate next year. Looks like the whole world open to him. And the one thing he kept saying is like, I really want to do something in chess, right? It was like that's what he really loved to do. So it's exciting to see him, doing everything he's doing now in Charlotte. But I mean, it was in his blood, and he wanted to keep doing chess. So and he found a way to do it. And if you really want to do something, there's ways to do it, and be happy. Um, you know, but even that takes work. So we are waiting to see the updated standings, uh, so that we see what round five will have in store. The tournament directors, John McCumsky is the chief tournament director running the computer. Um, and then we have our tournament directing team with Reika Stari is in the back room, along with Juan Sendejas and Judith supervising everything. And then we have Allison Wong volunteering and helping out monitoring the Zoom cameras. Um, and a lot of the kids are getting the experience of playing on camera with the Zoom, which is fun and interesting. Uh, what was interesting during the amateur team is you got like 40 players, right? In any Zoom, uh, and everyone's just like hanging out, and I thought that was kind of fascinating. Uh, I was in one of the Zooms in the first Zoom that had John Donaldson, Patrick Wolf, and Mark Pinto, and they just started chatting like they were on a phone call. And I was thinking this is kind of fun because everyone else in the Zoom chat is like listening to a regular conversation. What was it like for you guys? Were you guys, chatting away, talking when everyone was in the Zoom call, despite everyone else listening to you?
For
I don't
me,
think
yeah, go ahead, Ash.
For me, like I don't think I did that. I think right after the game ended, I actually left the Zoom call, and came back just like a couple minutes before the round started.
Sure.
But I think especially on the second day, in between rounds, we did have like a group call with other of our teammates on a separate Zoom call just to see how other games were ending, how our teammates were playing, and just potential pairings for the next round and just preparing together.
No, I mean, you guys took a very deliberate, professional approach to it all. Um, so you had to because there were so many scenarios where you're going to be in the running to win, and you just got to be aware of what's at stake. Um, and I remember I was watching the final round, and I mean, and this is my mind, but I'm sure your mind was working the same way. Is I'm looking at that matchup with Cal B against San Jose, and I'm thinking, all right, board one, Ryan's probably looking how he can hold everything just steady. Um, Board four is probably going to be a win. Two and three is where the heart is going to happen. Like they have to come up with the results there. Is that sort of the thinking that goes on in each match, depending on who you're playing? Like, okay, we're expecting this, but these are the boards where we really need to come through. Like, is that the mentality of all your matches?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit like that. They say that, like rating is just a number, but that number does have it can have a pretty big psychological effect, especially when you're playing a game.
Sure.
And in a lot of rounds, we wouldn't like explicitly discuss like you need to win, you need to draw, that kind of chatter. But I think it was like pretty common knowledge. Like, say if you're playing white against a significantly lower rated player, then there was some sort of responsibility incumbent on you to sort of get the full point out of that game.
And you sort of put that pressure on yourself, right? It's like everyone sort of knows what they need to do, right? It's just a matter of will they do it, right? I mean, Michael, when you were playing your games in the street, I'm going to pull up your game with Christopher, and then take a look at that. And I could tell you love playing chess because you're like playing all kinds of chess. Actually, that's not what I was.
Yeah, I do play like Everyday Bullet and Blitz. Uh,
Yeah, I play a ton of bullet, but it's more for like stress relief. Like bullet chess is the only way, one of the ways I can get any kind of stress out. All right, let me. All right, yeah, perfect. We are up. So this is your round five game. This was an exciting game to follow, but it had to have been intense for you because uh, a lot was on the line in this particular round. But sort of walk us through this. We'll go over this game fairly quickly, but
yeah, going into this game, I think especially with the matchup, with our board ones being very evenly split up, I think going into the round we had decided that we were going to be pushing on boards three and two, and obviously that Argentina matchup was very important to this match, and especially our board four as well. But so this game, I knew I had to be aggressive, which is why I played this F4 move in the opening. Usually I'm not that aggressive, but given circumstances, I decided to be that aggressive. And I think in this position, just with I just got a really comfortable position, I think, with that bishop on b7 being lost with my pawn on d5. Um, and in general, I felt like I had more space to put my pieces, and so knight c3 actually it develops, but also if black plays bishop g7, which can be easy to play just because you played g6 the previous move, but actually allows knight b5. Um, on a knight b5 threatens knight c7 and knight d6 check, which can be annoying to handle. So Christopher saw this, and that's why he played a6. Um, and so I think after knight c3, a6, white's probably just a little bit better, but for practical play, I think it's easier for white to play.
And just looking at this position, I know you traded queens early. Um, just the fact that the queens, and this is for a lot of the Scholastic players that are watching, just the fact that you've traded queens doesn't mean that this position is any less aggressive, right? Or any less
Mm-hmm.
pressing, because there's still a lot of space to be had, and you can be just as aggressive even without queens on the board trying to make something happen. Wouldn't that be right, Michael?
Yeah, it's especially in these types of endings where it's like just the queens are gone and you still have all your minor pieces, you have both your rooks. It's more like a queenless middle game rather than an end game, and there's a lot of tactical possibilities. Um, so yeah, definitely a lot of room to be aggressive for white here.
There we go. And there's the F5 move, and I think on the broadcast, Paul and Nick were loving this move.
Yeah. Again, I knew that if I developed my pieces like bishop d2 instead of f5, like black would just castle. And if I just continue to play like slow moves, black would easily equalize. So I realized that I had to do something and be aggressive. And so I played f5, keeping everything still pretty tense, and just like keep pressing. And I wasn't entirely sure if f5 was the best move, but it looked pretty attractive to me. My only concern with this move was that it gave away the e5 square, like knight d7, which Chris played. But I was pretty fortunate to have bishop f4, and to actually give up my bishop for the knight, which is something that I don't really like doing most of the time. But I think in this position, I was forced to do that.
And then there you go. And that's what you were talking about right there. You'll
Mm-hmm.
see that, yeah. And there was this move, and they actually were excited about that move also, A5, if
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
Yeah, so I actually, when I played a5, I didn't really calculate his move b5. I played a5 just because the queen side, the b6 pawn is really weak, and I know like a4, a5 ideas are pretty common in undermining a weak pawn structure like a6, b6, d5. And also black is a little bit underdeveloped. They haven't castled yet. And my pieces are in prime positions. There's also the f5, g6. Um, Tension. So I thought a5 would at least like if he took on a5, I could take back rook a5, and now I have a nice a6 pawn to target. So I think in that respect, Chris's b5 was actually the correct decision. Um, and it, b5 also here I spent some time like debating whether to take on b5 because if I took on b5, my d pawn would become a point of weakness. But I think I took on b5 at the end, and then because a6, I could take also.
So you took, and then he castled.
Yeah, castle was something that I thought he was going to take on d5, but castle also makes sense because my pawn on d5 is relatively weak, and also like here he just traded pieces bishop a6, rook a6, and I think one of my downsides of my position is that I had the two knights in a position that's very open. So once like that knight on f6 moves and black can play like e4 or something, that bishop on g7 can become a really dangerous piece. Or even bishop h6, bishop e3 check. So it's not so easy to convert, even though for the time being I'm up a couple of pawns.
At what
Um,
point were you thinking, all right, the way my position looks, these two knights are going to be something that are going to have some play? Did that just develop later in the game as the board developed, or like early on were you thinking, all right, I sort of want to get to this because that might help me?
That was just something that developed over time. Because I wasn't really anticipating this. But I think as the way Chris played and the moves played out, I think eventually like I was able to get my knights on really nice scores. Um, and even after I got them on nice scores, it wasn't so easy to convert. I think for at least a good like couple moves.
And so things got traded out. Here you are with your knights.
I think it was at this point where I realized that the two knights were actually really nice, um, and here I actually misplayed the position a little bit. F6 was really like on my mind all the time, which is why I ended up playing F6 because you can't really take on F6 like say Bishop F6 because Knight D7 is a fork on C5 and F6. And if you take Knight takes F6, then I have Rook takes F6, Bishop F6, Knight D7. And again, the two minor pieces for the Rook. But I think Rook A1 here on the spot just wins because getting the Rook in on the Rook A8 and Black's pieces are kind of tied up.
And then that was a move right there.
Mm-hmm.
Take. Yep.
I think F6 actually allowed Bishop H6, Bishop E3 counterplay a little bit, but I think Knight D7 is a really nice move to keep the position intact.
So wait, so what happens after knight takes f6?
I was planning to go Rook takes F6.
And then bishop takes
F6, Knight D7.
rook c3, and then
Knight F6 check.
king g7.
Can I? Oh, that's the third point. Maybe
So the
I
thing
can
is,
go.
yeah, so you sacrifice the pawn on f6, the material is now equal. So then it kind of gets into this weird king and pawn endgame, and I'm not really sure how that resolves.
I'm wondering if I can go Knight H5, G takes H5, then take C3, ruin your pawn structure a bit.
Yeah, but then I can. Oh, I see what you mean.
Or was it?
But I can go king h6, king h5 as well.
Well, that's
Oh no,
true.
I
But
can't actually.
You can't because D pawn.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying if F6, Knight takes F6, then Rook takes, Bishop takes, Knight E5?
Knight d7.
Knight D7. Knight D7.
And then Rook takes D3. Knight takes F6. Or I guess also on Rook takes C3, I'm thinking maybe I can also just take back on C3 because if you want to keep the E5 pawn, you're going to have to stay Bishop G7, but that allows like D6, maybe.
I see.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's complicated, but I think you're right.
Yeah, I didn't calculate. I actually did miss this whole idea that you mentioned Rook C3 there. So I'm not sure, but
Well, he did too, so I guess that helped.
yeah. Bishop E3, King H1, and here already I felt like, oh, this position isn't so easy to convert, even though I'm up like a pawn.
And take. Maybe have that move. Yeah, this was really like Nick DeFermian and Paul Whitehead were like on the edge of their seats, just like following what was going to happen here.
Yeah, I think earlier moves like Rook D3, King F3, King E2. I just tried to eliminate any chance Black had because I knew if I allowed Chris to get counterplayed, then this position would get really messy. Just because with the less number of pawns on the board, and two knights versus the knight and bishop is always tricky. So I felt pretty comfortable after I played Rook A7, got the A file because with the way he played with King H6, H4, now the king has to be careful to not get mated. And so
Yeah.
I think
Black really needed to play H4 himself there.
Yeah.
H4 for White is a very powerful move.
And like now it seems like you're sort of circling in. And then here's the position where you got the two knights against the rook, but you got this pawn just marching away.
I think the only way that Black could actually have any chance to draw that was to somehow take my G2 pawn and then stack his rook for the D pawn. because then I would have two knights and a king
Right.
versus the king and the h pawn, which is not so easy to convert.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if
Y-
that's winning.
You can't even do it by force, I think.
No,
Yeah.
you can do it until the pawn reaches h3, I believe.
Or if there's a pawn, yeah, if there's another pawn
Yeah.
Mm.
out there.
It's actually it's a very nice shape on the board, like the winning line. I believe it's um like you start on the fourth rank. So it goes a4, b6, c5, d4, e4, f5, g6, h4. Kind of makes this nice little M on the board, and that's if the pawn crosses that line, then it's a draw.
Very mathematical sounding. And that was the game. Great game for you, Ashritha, in round 5. And we have the updated standings, and I think I'm gonna pull that up here so that we can see what we're dealing with in the Scholastic Championship. Let me see. And we appear to have one undefeated team, and we are looking at it now. The Fallon Sandwiches, average rating of 910, and the teams had to be under 1400 as the high end, but we only had two teams that were above 1000 even. The Fallon Sandwiches with Diraj Talapragada, Dhruva Vudukuri, Abijoy, who is in the chat, getting me to show the game. He deserves it because the team's 4 out of 4. Drew Abijoy Mukherjee and Abirup Mukherjee. Only perfect score with 4 out of 4 heading into the final round. And the Dublin High School Gales with 3.5. And they do not appear to have played each other, so I think this is going to be the championship match right here for the final round. The Sandwiches against the High School. And then we have a third place, the Bright Chess Dragons with 3, as are the Fallon Impalas, the Fallon Warhorses. And let me go back here. Bright Knights Chess Club with 2.5. The High School Kings, 2.5, and the Mechanics Juniors also with 2.5. KC Coyotes, 2.5. Broncos, Chestnuts, Chargers. Chestnuts on Fire, nice team name. And then and so on and so on. So the Fallon Sandwiches and the Dublin High School Gales will be playing for the title, and we'll be following the action on those 4 boards. I'm sure the coaches of those teams are imploring them to please use their time and not rush it. And yeah, we'll keep an eye. And the Fallon Sandwiches, for their 4-point total in rounds 3 and 4, won their matches with 2.5. So even though they have a perfect score, it was not an easy road, and they had to have some heroes deliver the result. So we will include some of these games from this championship in the next newsletter, as we did for the U.S. Amateur Team Championship in the current newsletter. So 10 minutes before the start of the next round. I heard UC Berkeley is going to have in-person, or that's the plan for the fall.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm sure you guys are dying for that to happen, as is the Mechanics Institute. We're like dying to get back to work over there. We love our virtual chess club. We love doing online, but we're dying to get back into the building and actually do things over there. So, and we're working on a little project right now as a small step to for when reopening happens. So hopefully we'll have some more news about that in the next coming months. Something we're excited about, as long as everything goes back to everything stays on track with going back to the quote unquote normal. So be looking forward to that. Any of you is school still going right now? Yeah, right. in the
Yeah.
middle school. So what classes are you taking, Ashritha?
I'm taking Math 104, actually with Michael. And I'm taking this really project-oriented class for my data science major, and then I'm taking a stats class, and as well as another linear programming.
That sounds absolutely intense. What about you,
Very
Michael?
mathy.
Yeah, I'm also taking two math classes. One of them, 104, as Ash said, and an environmental science class and a political science class.
Oh, poli sci. What
Yeah.
class?
It's about sort of just broadly how American culture has affected American politics.
Oh, fantastic. Who's the teacher?
So the professor for that class is Professor Pramal, and he's
Oh yeah, he's been around forever.
yeah, yeah, he is he's done like a lot of work in the field, so it's actually really exciting because a lot of the concepts he introduces us are um, concepts where he has, say, like a non-traditional point of view, and sort of these are viewpoints that are not necessarily backed by the traditional literature that we read in, say, middle school and high school. So then we kind of get like a whole new perspective on some things
Absolutely.
that we thought were like for certain, or something that we thought we knew for a fact.
Yeah, yeah. No, a lot of fun. Those are cool classes. And I was talking to Josiah a while ago. You guys had a decal class that was chess, which I thought was absolutely cool. Can you tell us a little bit what decal is and what that class was like and how many students you get?
Sure. Our decal class was, I think we did it for 3 semesters, or the past 2 semesters, maybe three. But both me and Michael were on the teaching staff. I was more on the back end of like, making sure logistical things. And the decal was mainly for people who had little to no experience of chess coming into the class. And so the first couple of weeks were like, teaching them how pieces moved, and up to the final weeks where like they were able to, know what all different types of, skewers, forks, and pins were, to like, learning about the past games, like immortal games.
Yeah.
And the decal was super fun just because we had a lot of staff, like a lot of people from our club who were willing to put effort and to like really teach. So it was really fun. And they even got a chance to play Simon like Josiah one of the weeks.
That's very cool. And for those that don't know, the decal, it's a program at UC Berkeley where students can design their own course, where students can take that course for credit, and it's usually like 1 unit. And so it's really cool. It gives uh, the students a chance to design a class, instruct it, and sort of get that experience, which was really cool to have like a chess class. And so, how many students did you get? Take that, and these are like usually non-chess playing, not the ones you would normally see at tournaments. It's people that are interested in learning chess. And
Yeah, I think we got about 30 students.
yeah, that
Um,
was very cool.
yeah, pretty good number.
uh,
Um,
yeah. And it was interesting for me because I'm aware I taught a decal class when I went to UC Berkeley. So when I heard, oh wow, decal class, chess, I got, why didn't I think of that? So very cool. What faculty member signed off on that?
He was a professor from the ISF department, so
Okay.
the inter, I think that was Am Cora Muslim. And he's been the faculty for us for the past 3 semesters that we did the decal. He's wonderful. Really helps us. Without him, there would have been no decal for anyone. So
Very cool. Because you have to get a faculty member, not necessarily one from that same department. They just have to believe in you. And I'm sure there were you already had a good reputation among the instructors. Tournament starts in about 5 minutes. Whoa, what did I do? I didn't want to do that. So we're gonna get ready to get the games loaded, especially on the top table. I think we're gonna follow the top table a little more heavily. Chess Master M, just because you've been so persistent, I'm actually going to follow your game this round. Can you do me a favor? Do not play fast, okay? Because I'm going to follow the top table because I have to. That's the championship table. I am going to get your game, but I'm going to put it on you to, you know, don't play blitz chess. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it, but don't play fast, all right? And then I'll cover your game, I promise. I think since round one, he's been imploring me to cover the game. And usually the rule for Michael and Ashritha don't know, if you go in the Twitch chat and ask me to cover your game, that means I'm not going to do it for sure. Sort of has to be like a spontaneous thing. And then because I also know that if you're asking me to cover the game, you're like actively looking for the game, and then we can't talk about it because then I know you're like watching it actively. So, but I will cover your game. But we're gonna make the agreement that we're gonna look at your game, but Michael and Ashritha, we can't say what we're seeing. Or at least we can't call out moves. If something looks devastating, the emotion will be on our face, but we won't give lines. So that'll be the deal. All right, 3 minutes. The final round of the U.S. Amateur Team West Scholastic. And let me find the pairings. So are any of you have a tournament coming up, or an online event, or an over the board tournament, or you just everyone's in wait mode because you're in school?
We might have some, team events coming up. I know in the collegiate area there have been organizing events,
Right.
like Rapid and Blitz. We're not sure if we're going to play yet, but definitely a lot more of these team events are coming up. And I think, especially with things online in the pandemic, a lot of people, especially like Texas schools, are organizing like collegiate events just because it's easier for people now to just play online instead of having to travel. So that's really exciting.
And isn't FIDE doing a championship collegiate event coming up?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but I heard of something like that.
So apparently in March, University of Texas Rio Grande Valley is going to be the organizer of an online FIDE collegiate championship event. I believe it is. More information will be going out on that, I'm sure. So curious to see who participates in that. And kudos to you guys, not just for the Amateur Team West, but the Pan Am. I mean, for a non-traditional chess scholarship school to do what you guys did, basically end up on the final two tables of a tournament like that. Even though the ask was great in terms of providing an upset against those teams, that was a phenomenal performance. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think a lot of us sort of showed up at like the right time. Like I know, like especially for the B team, we had a lot of like 2.5, 1.5 wins, and those were just so crucial because if we lose half a point on any of those, then we definitely wouldn't have finished as high as we did in the standings.
And
Definitely, I think there was like rounds where I think Michael showed up like great, and then some games where I had to show up, and some games where Ryan had to show up. So it was a very like team effort for the Pan Ams, and I think across all the teams that we sent, all of our teams did fairly well, and I think it was a very group effort.
and that's the thing with team chess is like you never know whose turn it's going to be to like come through because not everyone is going to be able to rise up at the same time, right? Just the ups and downs of every round. And even someone that's struggling like rounds 1, 2, and 3 might provide the crucial point in round 4. So it's important to sort of keep positive and keep doing your best because you never know when that crucial time is going to come where you provide that point that's needed, even if there was trouble doing that in like the previous rounds.
Yeah, Ash, that was pretty much your story, right? Because in the first few rounds, not everything was going smoothly, and then you just started beating GMs.
Yeah, I think what really helped is just the bond that all of us at Berkeley have, all the chess people. Because even if like I didn't play so well in the first half, I know like Michael and my teammates were still cheering me on, and um, giving me advice, and it was just a very team effort. And so I was able to like after the first 2 days, was able to like just like no matter what happens on the board, just have fun. And I think having that just having fun mentality helped me like recover and to start winning games on the last day.
And I know you beat an IM. Did you beat a GM also?
I drew my last game against the GM, but yeah, I only beat an IM.
Well, that's no small
Good enough.
thing.
We'll take that.
What about you, Michael? How did your Pan Am experience go?
Um, it was I think, pretty solid overall. There were definitely a couple of games where I could have played better, but um, yeah, I think it was, as Ash said, like having fun was like sort of also kind of how I approached the games, and I definitely had a lot of fun in that tournament. So to that extent, the tournament was very successful.
And the games are about to start here, and we shall be seeing it shortly. And here we go. This is board one on the top table. This is for the championship. We have Dab Pac-Man for the Dublin High School Gales. Adith Muthukumar against Dheeraj Talapragada from the Fallon Sandwiches. Blitzing it out. Well, at least in the opening. In the opening is fine. But a lot on the line here.
A very interesting opening choice by White to play this gambit in such a crucial round.
For White.
Seems to be paying off though. I kind of like White's position here.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue what the theory is, but just my impression is that White is doing fairly well.
Yeah, I agree also. It seems like White really knows his opening as well. Um, and
Oh,
I have a feeling this game is going to blow up real soon.
wow, it's kind of. Oh, what happened?
Wow.
Something happened here. Gonna fix this because it's like a crucial part of the tournament here, and we don't want to see half of the board. So here we go. Let me fix it. There, there, there.
Bishop f5 is not a move that I would have blitzed out. I definitely would have taken a little more time to just think through all the complications.
I feel like it's very easy to like, play fast in online chess than it is in person, but also I've had lots of painful experiences where I've played fast and lost winning positions. So playing fast can really be an evil thing.
Whoa.
Wow, this is like
This
sharp.
is insane.
Yeah, I think Black might have missed the
Oh.
knight f5, attacks the queen.
My gosh,
Oh, now it's knight g7.
look at that. Oh,
Wow.
Well, that's that game.
like this is like
Wow.
moving too fast.
I think it's really easy to like mess up in the opening if you move really fast because you're like, oh, I know this opening, but sometimes it's easy to forget moves.
Yeah, I
Easy
don't.
to even mouse flip. So
Well, you're a lot more forgiving than I am, Ashritha, because I think should have known better, especially in a team tournament. So very
Wow, yeah.
very unfortunate for Black for the Fallon Sandwiches who are perfect going into this round. So lots of challenges here. Let's take a look at board two. Beta G Chill. That is Dhruva Vudukuri from the Sandwiches from Fallon against Cassius Lai from the High School Gales.
this game seems the opposite nature of the previous game.
A little more quiet, a little more passive.
It's a Slav, and I've actually lost a painful amount of games by screwing up the opening in the Slavas Black. Most recently in the last round of Pan Am's actually. Um, yeah, this is also why I pretty much stopped playing the Slav because there's so many different move orders and so many different lines that you have to know to make sure that you can just survive for 15 moves. Um,
Speaking of surviving, but not surviving, that game is over on board one, and the
That was really quick.
final position is right there. So the
oh, the humanity.
the humanity of it all. The sandwiches lose on board one to the Gales, so 1-0 on that board. I have to go to this game just because I cannot miss it. I promised I would show it. M. Reno A playing white against next space JL. Who is this? Reno. Where the heck are you? Rinal Agarwal against Jerry Liu. And White's unrated.
This imbalance is interesting.
Yeah, Ash, would you take white or black here?
I take white.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though white is down material, I think just the two bishops and the activity of the pieces.
Well, looks like
Strong center.
got it back.
Although I'm not sure about this move
Yeah.
because of this, but
I think white gets out of it, but I'm not.
yeah, maybe white gets out of it.
Both sides are still moving too quickly for my comfort.
And and we have a result on board 4 on the top table right here with Ragged Fire. What happened here? Again, this is another instance where
More
fast.
time on the clock for this.
Jeez, yeah, look at this. What are you guys doing? What are we teaching these kids here? Look at this. Wow. Well, it sort of
wow.
yeah.
Bishop takes f2.
There.
Wow.
I feel like it was just a game of bullet, but like whoever makes the last mistake is the one who
Look at that.
loses the game.
Jeez, look at that.
Oh,
Oh,
Look
ouch.
at
painful.
Tough. Anyway, yeah, there it went. And this is the Dublin team got the win here. The Dublin high school team. So it looks like on the championship top board, the Gales have won 2. So they will win the championship if they can pick up a draw on the 2 remaining boards. This is board 3, which we haven't looked at. Sam DeGreat is playing for the Dublin High School Gales against Abijoy Mukherjee for the Fallon Sandwiches. So now it's put the pressure that boards 2 and 3 need to win for the sandwiches.
How do they come up with these pawn structures?
It's a very interesting pawn structure on the queen side.
It was funny because Kesav and Arjun were the same thing. Like, can you go to the beginning to see how this happened? And it's like, oh, okay, it's not at all what I thought. how to get there.
I'm really curious how this pawn structure got here, though.
Yeah.
So is the pawn at b5 a c pawn or a d pawn?
I see what you're saying. All right, so we'll just start from the position
it's a C pawn.
here.
Oh, it's a Scotch.
Oh.
The Scotch game, yeah. There you go.
Ah, I see.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Although I do like Black's position here. That pawn structure is super solid on the queen side.
I mean, it's like I think black is pretty much down a pawn here, right? Because
Yeah.
those 4 pawns are basically just 3 pawns. But But in terms of piece activity, he does have better pieces.
I
Although,
think white has to be super careful here.
right.
I don't really like how the knight on d2 is unprotected right now, and there's also like black has ideas like bishop g4, knight h3, queen d2.
And let me do a peek on this game here. It appears things have not gone white's way, and
This looks pretty over.
Yeah, there's a pin, but black can take care of it pretty easily by just moving his king over.
They still have more time on their clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too much time.
too much. We give them too much time. We should have made it bullet, and then we would have been done with the team tournament like a long time ago. So
Whoa.
this is board 2 of the top table here.
White looks up a piece.
Yeah.
Not really sure how white took on b8, but
It's because white was threatening bishop b5, so black couldn't take
Oh.
back. So yeah, Scotch. I'm sorry, Slav.
Slav.
Exchange Slav is so tricky for black.
And this is
I think I see what happened. e4, then they took on e4, bishop b8, then a6.
Yeah,
so here we go.
that's a really good trap, by the way. That's because queen d7 just looks so natural in that position, but it actually just loses a piece, right? There's no way to stop it.
It's really hard to deal with in online chess.
Yep. And this is great for the sandwiches because they are up on this board here. Going back to board 3 here, where black needs to get a win. If board 2 and 3 pull this out, that'll be amazing. After dropping the first 2 games so fast.
Yeah, white's pieces are still lacking a little coordination, and it's very dangerous still.
Although I think if you can get knight f3 in, or even like h3 in, I think he's threatening h3 or f3 right now. Just, try to consolidate your position. I think white should be better. Although this is annoying because your d2 is hanging.
Yeah, so queen e3 would just trade into what is that endgame even? Like slightly better for black, equal? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I would take on e3 just because those pawns are going to be forever weaknesses. Because I feel like if you don't take on e3, the winning chances for black, white can like equalize with like f3 and then just push.
At least they're taking a little more time on this board.
Yeah.
That gives me hope.
Now, was that the correct way to go? See, here's the thing: is like they may not realize that they need to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they did, would trading queens still have been something you would have done, or would you have tried to keep it on the board?
It depends on who I'm playing. If I'm playing like an IM or a GM, I definitely go for the queen trade. But again, like maybe not necessarily against a lower rated player. Because at that point, like it starts to become like a psychological kind of decision as well as a rational, like which is kind of objectively the best move decision, because you do want to consider like what are my chances of drawing versus winning, and how risky do I want to be.
And that's the thing. It's like you don't have to go all out attack in order to go for the win. I mean, there's patient ways to go about winning. But what about knight g3 check here?
Yeah, I think this would just drop the exchange. It's also after knight f1, if you try to trap the knight with h takes g4, your d2 knight is also hanging. So this looks like just a whole exchange up.
That is a great great thing for the sandwiches. So,
The sunbeam doesn't look that easy to convert, though. I mean, the rook will probably make its presence felt when the position opens up more, but for now, it looks like it's not immediately obvious, say, how black is winning or how black is going to press white's position here.
I'm gonna look on this other game just because it looks fascinating to me. Check this position out here.
Whoa.
It just hits the face like that, right? Like what is this?
I'm curious to see if this
Oh.
game will end up in a bishop and knight. Just because. Well, I guess not.
Oh.
Not after that one. Yeah.
That's a rough
Oh,
one.
but wait a minute.
Yeah, this.
And the square is the same color of the bishop, so there was no.
Yeah, I mean, the H pawn is gone already,
Yeah,
but yeah, this should be easily winning.
it should be easy. Let's go back to board 2 on the championship table.
Wow.
White is up a piece.
I definitely don't like the way that white played it. I think they did have misplayed it a little bit because the G2 bishop is not in the game. And their king is still not castled yet. But they are up a piece.
So the
Can be winning.
the drama here is that boards 1 and 4 dropped quick on the top tables. The Fallon sandwiches lost immediately their 2 games, but their boards 2 and 3 are battling it out, and they are winning their games on 2 and 3 at the moment. If they win both of their games, they will tie the match. And looking at the team standings, they would be at 4.5. And they would win outright because no one can catch them because there's no other team besides the team they're playing that has 3.5. So if boards 2 and 3 are able to hold on to their leads and win, they would draw the match, but they would win the championship because they cannot be caught by anyone else. That is what is at stake here. No pressure.
No pressure.
And I wonder what it would be like if they actually knew about it. Like if they knew that you got to win this. No draws. You have to win it. I don't know.
F3 definitely looks like a step in the right direction to me. You want to open up that bishop. You want to open up the position so that your extra piece can make its presence known.
You can use it. Yeah.
I definitely agree, but I also like black's position to, create counterplay with king h8, like rook g8, and now that f3 has been played, g3 is a little bit weak. So I feel like black has to go all in, and even if they are playing like moves that make your position worse, it's better to like do that because then there's more chances for white to go wrong.
And the Twitch chat is all of a sudden blowing up. People are rooting for the individual players, and Judith is saying, "I'm pretty sure they know what's at stake." And judging from the Twitch chat, you're probably right. They are well aware. And the Fallon team's a very well coached team. Eric Lai and a bunch of other people. They train as a team, as a unit, and there's no doubt that they've gone over these scenarios. So fun to watch. Final table for all the marbles.
I really like how both sides are taking their time.
Let me jump to board 3 here because the positions got a little more simplified. But black is up the exchange, but can white create any problems?
The short answer is probably no, because with every piece exchange that goes off the board, um, the rook becomes like ever more. The advantage of the rook compared to the knight is increasing. So as white, I would have preferred to keep more pieces on the board, keep the bishop, keep the rook, um, and I think black has made some pretty good progress here. The next step would be to activate his king, but let's see how the players approach this.
I definitely agree with Michael, and I think this knight on g3 looks pretty tied up to protecting the e pawn. So even just moves like g6, h5, h4 can bother white. Um,
And the one thing I'm noticing that I like is that in both these matchups, the player that is down material are using their time a lot more. So that suggests that despite being down material, they're trying to find ways to fight back and keep themselves in the game.
This has gotten a little problematic for white though, because he has two options here. He can retreat or move forward. And if he retreats, he loses the e4 pawn for nothing. But if he moves forward to king d4, then black goes rook d8 check and rook d2. And then all of a sudden white's pawns are very vulnerable and most of them are going to drop.
And checking
I
in.
agree. I think
No, go ahead.
knight f5. I agree that knight f5 was maybe not the correct move.
I'm gonna check in on board 2 of this crucial matchup. White has just played a4.
In the long run, I think white should be able to convert this, but they have to be careful of like h5, h4 with such an active rook on b2. Things could get messy.
White does have to be a little bit careful here. That bishop is tied to the knight, and if the rooks start chasing the bishop, white could potentially drop material. But what black wants to do right now is just to be as much of a nuisance as possible. It's an endgame, so he pretty much can't really win here. What he should try to do is just like go for the draw and just cause as many problems for white as possible. And hopefully white makes a mistake, and that gives a window of opportunity to save that crucial half point.
It takes a lot of mental strength to do that, where you're like really fighting to hold a position instead of trying to press to win, right? Because I mean, isn't it a little bit harder where you're really like giving everything to just try to hold defense, or does it for you? It's all the same. Like the effort feels the same. Like you don't lose your will, even if you're just trying to hold versus trying to go for a win.
I think there's a lot of pressure in any kind of situation, like where the result is crucial, whether it's like going for a win or for a half point. I don't know, Ash, is it which situations are the most stressful for you?
I think I feel like in positions where I mess up and I'm lower and I'm like my position's just bad for some reason, just in my like history of playing chess, I tend to play better when I'm losing. Just because, when my back is against the wall, I'm forced to find the best move. Otherwise, I'm going down without a fight. And so because of that, usually when I'm losing, I don't really care about, I should draw or I should win. I'm just focused on finding the best move. And so if you keep putting constant pressure on your opponent and like crack my position, it can be really annoying for them as well.
Hey, can I show you guys something? Look at this game.
Yeah, please.
Just catches the eye.
Wow.
This is amazing.
I don't even know what to say. It's fun to watch.
No, I don't think.
Is rook takes f7 just winning or better for black?
Rook f7, queen f7, rook
And then
f8.
rook f8.
It looks very good to me.
I mean, the thing is, after that, white just has a ton of pawns. So
This as well, though, like I think I could just trade everything on h7 and play bishop d5.
Yeah, but now White's just
Meanwhile,
up like before you would have two knights for a rook. Now it's just you're just down a lot of pawns, and it's gonna be an
yeah.
endgame. Or actually, will it be an endgame?
Or you mean like after queen h7, king h7, bishop d5?
No, Queen h7
Um,
is checkmate.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, or sorry, it loses a piece. My bad.
mhm.
Oh, he missed rook h3.
Oh yeah, rook h3 would have been forcing knight h5 and the game over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I guess this also works because rook h3 is still there, but also the ideas of bishop g6 trust.
yeah. I think king h6 is the only move for black here.
All right, going back to board 3 on the championship table. Here we are.
White built a nice pawn structure.
Oh, white got out of that better than I thought. Um,
Or
Black is
maybe
up a
takes
pawn
back
now.
with the pawn.
Yeah,
Those are really nice squares on f5 and h5 for the knight. Objectively, I think black should still be able to win this, but really great resistance by white.
Yeah, that is a pretty nice square right there on f5. But it seems like the rook is going to get through, right? Even if you go to f5, rook gets on the d.
yeah.
I think the
But
problem is like anytime you go knight f5, I can always stack my rook on f5 and king f6.
but can you though? Because I think that endgame is drawn.
Oh,
Because there's an
hmm,
extra pawn on the queen side, but that pawn will not be useful.
that's true. I guess you have to play king f6 first, and then on knight f5, then you can stack. But
Yeah, what I would do here as white is I would actually push e4 first because, as Abel
mhm.
said, rook d5, then the rook gets in, it's kind of annoying. So I would deny black that square first, and then I would consider knight f5. And then if I'm allowed to, if the rook, um, if there's like a good moment, say the rook or the king goes to defend h6, and then I can push e5 and king e4. All of a sudden, my king's playing very actively, my knight's very active, and maybe black has to start thinking about, hey, is that e pawn going to promote, and um, do I have to like sacrifice my rook for it? Because then at that point, it's white who's winning.
It's funny because in the chat we have fans from both sides trying to cheer the players on, which is very cool.
Yeah,
Let's
so e4 on the board.
And were you saying that h5 may eventually have to be played to sort of?
I really like king g6, h5, and I think once you get h5 in, if you don't take, I'm gonna go h4. Black just needs to get a pass pawn here somehow.
And let's check on the board 2 matchup here. Black's getting a little bit
Wow.
of counterplay here, although
Whoa.
time is down to 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, you can. I think it's paying off. Black is spending a lot more time than white, and I think based on the amount of activity he's gone out of position, it seems something is definitely happening because white is dropping a
Hmm.
pawn at least on the king side.
But I think the problem is that like h takes g3, bishop g3, king e3, your rook's under attack, and now I want to go rook h1 check. But
Oh,
I'm not
that's a good
sure.
point.
I'm not sure if this is actually helping black here. And same with rook takes g3. I have king e1. So,
Damn, yeah, that is a nice resource.
but at the same time, there's less number of pawns on the board. So,
And Cassius under 5 minutes.
If black is able to sacrifice his bishop for the a5 pawn and eliminate the other two white
Oh,
pawns, then it could become a bishop and knight versus king endgame.
yeah, that would be very interesting to see.
Ooh, but king e1 should be winning on the spot here for white. Let's see if he finds it.
Well, actually, king e1, you don't even have bishop b4.
No, yeah.
Yeah, king e1 would just win on the spot. I guess also rook h1 would send king
and
e1.
that's the trouble with seeing things that you can do doesn't mean necessarily that you should do it, right? because you look at it, it's like I can take that pawn, right? Can't capture me, the knight can't capture it. But then, like you said, king e1 happens, and then that's it. Except it was not played.
It could be played on the next move.
It,
But
it
yeah,
still can
rook
be
h1.
played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess white's gonna play rook g1 here.
Well, wait, king
Yeah.
e1? No, king e1. No, Ash. The point you had about bishop b4, king e1, bishop b4 works.
Oh, it works now. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, rook h1 was a big mistake there.
Mm-hmm. But here, can I just
But here, I
trade?
think black actually has decent drawing chances because if the bishop trades for the a pawn, then oh wow, oh I like
Very
that.
daring play. Yeah,
I like that a
like
lot.
that move too. Okay, now I think white is losing their thread. I think it's going to come down to whether this a pawn can actually push.
Right.
Because king g2, f5. I think white should be able to convert this, but I think
Yeah.
even if black gives up their b8 bishop for the pawn, a pawn, it's still not easy to convert, because you have only one pawn left and two minor pieces, so it might come down to that king bishop knight.
Yeah, king g2 was played. I would have preferred king e3, I think, followed by some the idea behind that is to move the bishop, push a6, and then that frees up the rook, and the rook can go over to help attack the g3 pawn.
And going back to the other game in the round.
Wow, yeah, this looks pretty good for black.
I guess now you're threatening rook h2, rook e2.
Yeah, that's right, actually, simplifying to a pawn ending.
There's been a lot of pawn endings in this tournament, in just these 2 rounds, actually.
Back in the other game. And I'm happy to see, at least on this top table, that the players are putting everything out there. At least boards 2 and 3.
Yeah, so at this point, I think black should just collect himself and realize the two most important pieces on the board right now are the d4 pawn and the a5 pawn. And if he can get rid of those 2 pawns, then he will pretty much have the draw locked up. I'm assuming that these, like a bishop and knight versus king endgame, won't turn out to be a win.
I think that would be a challenge.
Yeah, I think I would not be able to win a bishop and knight ending.
The endgame nobody wants, not even masters.
Yeah, I've seen it before in tournaments, and it never fails to be a total cause of humiliation when the bishop and knight player invariably fails to find the mating net.
I've only had to play that once, and I got lucky to do that because my opponent voluntarily went to the right corner. But yeah, that ending is very hard. I think for both sides.
I was at a tournament where in the open section, in the final round, there were 2 games that were bishop knight versus king. 2 games in the open section at the same tournament in the same round. And I hadn't seen it before, which is unusual. And they were having struggles, and in one game they were not even aware that you have to drive it to the corner of the bishop color. And it was tough, and it was funny because people were trying to kibitz about it, talk about it, not realizing that right behind them the same thing is happening, right, on another board. And so I had to remove them from the playing area. But yep, it is tough. Going back to the wow, look at these games look the same. This is the other game on board 3.
This looks
Nice. Yeah,
really
black
nice
is
for black.
yeah, his position is getting better by the move, and it's just I like how he sort of kept his nerve and he's brought his king up, he's brought his rook into White's position, and White's pieces are still. I mean, the knight was on the same square that it was like 20 moves ago, so obviously White hasn't been as successful in improving his pieces, and yeah, black looks in very very good shape here. So it probably comes down to the third board, the opposite colored bishop ending.
And a lot of games are ending. There's only a handful of games left. The 2 games we're following are among them, obviously. Going back to the other game, Cassius is almost at 2 minutes left on his clock for black, trying to hold this position for the Gales.
White has very much had the right idea here with bishop c4 because that a pawn needs to move, and like with every square that pawn advances down the board, its value increases exponentially, and we're getting at the
I
point
think
where that pawn is going to cost black a bishop if not a rook.
And Josiah Stearman's in the chat saying bishop and knight is easy.
I think the most heartbreaking case I've seen of bishop versus knight was there was this one game where White was sort of flailing around for 30 moves, not knowing what to do. White having the bishop and the knight, and at around like move 45, there was a clear mating net, and White was actually around like I think 3 moves away from delivering checkmate, but then Black called 50 move rule, and the game was declared a draw.
And it was verified 50.
Yes,
Wow.
yeah, the arbiter stepped in and checked, and it was 50.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. A minute 45 for Cassius. Trying to work this out. He clearly knows what's on the line. Um, it's funny, like similar looking positions. Back to board 3 really quick. This is going to be tough here.
I definitely think the losing side has more chances in the board 2 rather than in this game.
Yeah, White needs a miracle to
Looks like it's unraveling there.
pick us or something.
Back to
Lost a draw.
back to 2.
But on the other board,
Yeah. Under a minute is Cassius, although there is a 10-second increment.
so I think he realizes that if White managed to get a7, that a pawn becomes unstoppable. But the only way to stop it is bishop b8. And
So I think I can take on e5 there, right? After bishop b8.
right, yeah. Or even
Rook.
promoting the pawn. Oh, what's he gone for here?
I think he's just
He's
white queen.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, actually.
Yeah, Black is a couple moves short of making his own passed pawns dangerous to like a threat to White. But yeah, a7 is
Hopefully no mouse look, and white should be able to.
oh, can you imagine?
Convert.
Gosh.
That's the thing about online chess. It's not over till it's like you see the result, because there's so many factors that play into this.
And it looks like white is going to get it done there on this. Let's going back to board 3 and taking a look at what is going on here.
Nice. So black is simplifying down to a king and pawn ending, as Ash said. And yeah, the verdict, I think, is pretty clear here.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be a remarkable comeback given what had happened really early. Board 2 has won the game for the Fallon sandwiches. Congratulations to Beta G Chill. Dhruva Vudukuri defeats Cassius Lai and gets the win. That means the Gales are up 2-1 with one game left, but Abijoy Mukherjee as black, if he can convert the win, he will have a 2-2 result in this match, and that would be enough to give the Fallon Sandwiches the championship. All he needs to do is convert this win, but let's give it up to Sam de Great, because he's been using his time trying to find defenses, trying to find a way to keep living and get the draw, but really tough. And Abijoy really trying to make sure and calculate. And
I really like that he's taking a lot of time now, because even in these kinds of simple positions where like the win just seems like, it's like one step away, that can actually be the most dangerous type of position, because it really kind of screws up with your mindset. And if you like literally just one mistake can completely screw up all the hard work that you did earlier.
And can black just take the knight and just make, with the time that he has, create the... No, didn't want to do that.
I think you can take the knight, but I think g4 might just be faster. Just push your pawn. But it's also a win.
Yeah, this is probably the better way too.
Yeah, in these types of positions where there's a lot of open lines, you can really see how the rook can dominate the knight. I think the knight's actually going to be trapped this move or the next move.
Yeah, king g6 will trap the knight.
And nicely played to make sure he got his rook to d3 where it's defended, and then divert the attention to the pawn over there. Looks like around 3 games left in the tournament. Pull up the other ones. Sam de Great trying to work this out. Really quick, let me check on the other 2 remaining games. This is Aditya Chida playing white.
Really interesting rook endgame that I think is really going to come down to the pawn race again.
Well, black's got to be careful here, because it looks like he has this nice pawn on a2, but actually white's the one without the winning chance.
He's dropping a2 now.
But they're moving so quickly. They have increment. Do they not know this? But yeah, now it's winning for white, right?
Rook f7 was played instantly.
Yeah, just cut off the king and then the pawn. Well, or That's actually a better cutoff.
And going to the other game here, uh, something happened with the knight. I think it just got hung.
Yeah, it was trapped by the king and the rook.
Yeah, there was no way around it. And we'll stay on this game because this will be a remarkable comeback, and that is it. Abijoy gets the victory, and with that victory, they tie on table one. They draw their match, finish with 4.5 out of 5, and that is enough for them to win the championship. The Fallon Sandwiches, congratulations to them. The Heroes, boards 2 and 3, bailed out the team in holding the draw against the high school team, and congratulations to Fallon for winning the U.S. Amateur Team West Scholastic Championship in dramatic fashion. That was
Yeah.
exciting. I think there is one game left, and it's that game we were looking at right here.
Yeah, nicely played by White to convert that pawn ending or that rook ending.
I think this pawn is just queening now.
And actually, there's a lot of time. Like, Black has a lot of time left.
Yeah, I think rook f7 was just played instantly. I think, although that position was already tough to say, but
Yeah, the king needed to move over, I think, right? But then
mhm. I think White has to be careful here. Like if they move their king, then there could be stalemate ideas. But this does the job.
this is smart, yeah. There was, I think, mate in 2, but this is slow and steady.
Just making sure.
Mm-hmm.
We saw dramatic moments in an earlier game. I know Aditya Cheetah is I know he'll convert this, but there was a king and queen versus king match where there was some worry that that they would repeat because he was having trouble finding the pattern. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
No!
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh man. This is called a learning experience. And Aditya, you had time. You had time on the clock.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is usually you're worried about a stalemate like in the corner, right? But here it is in the middle of the board. Tough one there for Aditya. This is one you're going to remember for a while, but it's a learning
Yeah, and Rob, you better look out next time you cross the street.
So stalemate here on the board, and what a way to end end the tournament. I think all the games are done. Yeah, all the games are done. So we should have the final standings shortly. Everything will get verified, and then it'll get posted, and then we'll pull it up. But really, that's a tough ending right there. And normally, I can see what's happening like a few seconds ahead, but this is one where I just cannot help myself. It's for chess players. There's like this immediate gut reaction when you see it on the board. I remember at a was it like a super state championship? It was a Scholastic championship, and a national master who was a coach for us, Tom Riccardi. Do you know him?
Yeah.
So he was helping as like one of the scorekeepers of the results, and he was watching a game, and then all of a sudden there was a position where someone like hung the queen, but they hung it where it was they would have hung it on the next move. The opponent would have had to seen it, but he saw it, and then you could just hear him go, "Oh!" Right, and then he just walked away and walked out of the room, and then he goes, "No, I'm sorry. I just, it's just a reaction you just have when you see it." Right. And I think as
Yeah.
chess players, like, you know, it's almost like you get punched in the stomach when you see something like that, right? You just have this like reaction. But fantastic games there in the final round, especially on the top table because the players clearly knew what was at stake, and they played their hearts out. And kudos to the Dublin High School Gales, who the two players on 2 and 3 were down early and fought valiantly all the way, trying to hold. But uh, kudos to the Fallon Sandwiches, who maintained their lead because it would, like you were saying, the hardest thing to do is to keep that edge, um, especially with so much on the line. So uh, hopefully we saw some maturity in these players as a result of this. How is it for you guys, sort of kind of covering and watching rather than playing? Is it sort of a relief, or do you feel the pressure all the same?
It's really interesting to be on this side of,
Right.
chess because both of us, me and Michael, have experience of, being in the same position that these players have been. And it's not fun in these really tense moments. Like, it's really hard. Like, it's easy for us to call moves out here, but during the game, anything can happen, and so it's really interesting to see the other side of this. And it's been really fun and to see all these games.
Yeah, I'm grateful that there's no like pressure that, neither of us are in these kinds of like, as Ash said, the situations that the players themselves are in where we have to make a win or we have to make a draw. But yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun.
It, like, when you're playing though, does the time just sort of pass, and then 2-3 hours later, all of a sudden it's over, or does it feel like it's just taken forever? Because I would think that your mind's so engaged in the game, in the dynamics of the team match, that you might just tune out altogether. And next thing you know, it's 3 hours later.
It was like that for me for sure. I think in one of my games in Pan Am's, it was a pretty complicated position. I looked outside. It was like light outside, and I made a move, and my opponent made a move, and I looked out, and it was just
It's like
pitch black.
like dark.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty funny. And Judith's giving you guys props in the chat. So much fun to see you both. Um, you guys were great coming on with us and doing the commentary. And like I said, I think it was special for the parents and the kids to watch you do the commentary, because I think the kids look to you as sort of what they want to be eventually. So I think it was exciting for them to have you provide your expertise in the commentary. So thank you for that, for doing that, and just for giving back, because I asked you on short notice, and you guys all rallied up to help us out and provide that. And from the Mechanics Institute, thank you for being generous with your time, because it's a Saturday. I know you guys have a lot of other things you could be doing, but just we appreciate that generosity with your time and giving back to the kids.
yeah. Definitely. Thank you for having us. It was a lot of fun doing
So
this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being on here.
thank you, and we're waiting just for the final standings so we can officially make the call uh, and give the final results here. And just checking everything. And I know the same they do with the amateur and the Pan Am. Once the tournament is over, the Chief TD and Judith are looking over the final results, making sure everything is right, because there's nothing worse than making a call and putting up final standings that are incorrect.
Gosh.
And we don't want to do that, because give someone a title and then strip it away. but we're pretty certain that the sandwiches will win because there was no one that could catch them, and they maintained. Let me click. And let me put the link in the chat where the final results will be posted as soon as they come up. I'm pretty sure the parents have been following this all day, but if they haven't, here it is. That's where you will see the final results. So you have a homework to do this weekend still, or you got a clear
Yeah.
weekend?
No, the weekends are almost never clear, I think.
Yeah.
And where are you, Michael? You're in the South Bay or somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm in Cupertino, so
Okay,
South Bay.
perfect. And Ashritha, you're in San Jose, so
That's correct.
you're in my neck of the woods. Judith is in Stockton. I think Judith's the only one in Stockton. If anybody's still watching and lives in Stockton other than Judith, type that in the chat. We don't get many Central Valley representation. Standings. I had no idea Nathan Fong was sort of like one of the important people in the club getting everything going. Is he like the club president, or is someone else the club president? 'Cause he seems to be like totally active.
He was the president when he was at Cal, actually last year. He graduated last year, so me and Devanshi are actually co-president with
So
him right now.
he's not he's a graduated student.
Yeah, but he still helps out. He plays a very important role in UC Berkeley chess in terms of especially like logistical stuff, and then also as well as just like maintaining everything and making sure communication is great and everything. Actually, our entire team at Berkeley for the chess club, who we are like, there's like a group of 10 of us, and I think every one of us is very important to the team and allows us to, like, make these quick changes on the spot, because especially our amateur West, our initial lineups for the teams were very, very different actually to what ended up happening, and so we really needed to quickly adjust to that.
And who made that call? Because I know you reached out to us and with like all the changes, and that was kind of interesting because, right, there had to have been some thought about wait a minute, we have a better plan, and came up with that.
Yeah, so actually our initial teams were without Keshav and a lot of our some of our top players. So once we got them, the final teams were purely Josiah's work. He really put those teams together, and so shout out to Josiah for that. And as well, like, we had a lot of last minute changes, including the morning of the event. Someone told us that they couldn't play most of the event, and so we had to forfeit that board for like most of the rounds. But just like even the day before, someone said they were unable to play, and so we had to like ask someone before 6 p.m. that day, which was a struggle because they told us like just 2 hours before that deadline. But,
that's like tough. That's tough.
But with like everyone on the team, like we were able to like ask our connections and like somehow figured it out. And so the entire team, I think something that's been helpful is that before things went online, all of us are really close friends in real life as well. So just having that type of friendship was really helpful for this.
So Ashritha and Devanshi sort of leading the club at UC Berkeley. And that's really cool because you're going to be there a couple more years. So we'll have a fantastic leadership. And Devanshi's awesome. We've spoken to her before. I know she's like really active. And she provided the pictures that I used in the newsletter to brag about you guys. So that was awesome. And no rush, Judith. No rush on the results. Everyone's patient. We want to make sure we get it right. 2 to 3 more minutes. Oh, perfect. And for anyone still watching, if you're following and you haven't done so already, go ahead and click that purple follow button if you haven't done so, and then that way you'll be notified when we broadcast events such as our Tuesday night marathon, which we do uh, on Tuesdays during tournament time, and other special stuff. We were streaming a match from one of our Scholastic programs between a middle school in San Francisco, Francisco Middle, that's coached by International Master Elliot Winslow, and Lycée Voltaire School in Qatar. And they had a friendly match at 8 a.m. on Thursday, and we streamed that. So you never know what kind of chess action you'll get out of the mechanics, but click that follow button, and then that way when we come on, you can see. Because we also do arenas for fun with Nick DeFermian and Paul Whitehead. Maybe one of these days we'll hit a member of the UC Berkeley team, see if they want to do a 60-minute arena for fun. I tried doing an arena once. Judith and I, we stopped after I think one or two. We were just getting like destroyed left and right, and I don't think it was fun for anyone. They didn't get the same joy out of beating up on us than they do trying to beat up on like Nick or Paul. I keep hitting the click button, but I'm not trying to rush you. I'm just trying to see what is going on. And Golko fan, National Master Mike Walder is in the chat. Arenas take good nerves. Yeah, it's tough because when you play an arena, everyone is coming after you, singularly you. So there's a lot of pressure. Paul Whitehead plays game in 3 plus 2. Nick, game in 5 plus 2. Do you guys have a preferred time control when you're just playing with friends?
It depends on how functional my brain is at that moment. If I'm super tired, I think let's just like bullet like 1-0 is pretty fun. But if I want to think more about my moves, then 3-0 or 3-2 is my preferred time control.
And I think for fun, we started 30 seconds.
30? Oh my gosh, that's like can't even.
See, I have a trackpad, so that doesn't quite work as well for me.
And here are the final standings. I will put them up. The Fallon sandwiches take first place. Let me see, is that right? Oh, it doesn't show the whole score. Let me do this. I'm going to cut us off for a little bit. Oh, this is the old one. That's what's going on. There we go. There. All right. Can we see that now? There we go. Let me fix this. And just like we thought, the Fallon sandwiches with 4.5 out of 5 win the U.S. Amateur Team West Scholastic side event. That team is Dheeraj Talapragada, Dhruva Vudukuri, and Abajoy Mukherjee and Abhirup Mukherjee. 4.5 out of 5. Second place, Bright Chess Dragons with 4 points. They took the tiebreak over the Dublin High School Gales, which finished third. And the Fallon Impalas also tie for second, but get fourth on the tiebreak. And that is the result. So congratulations to everyone who participated. Congratulations to Eric Lai and all the team from the Fallon sandwiches and all the Fallon teams, because Fallon sent quite a few teams to play. But this team, with an average rating of 910, got it done. It's a team effort all the way around, even though boards 1 and 4 fell quick in the final round. You never, and if you looking, boards 2 and 3 were really the heroes, because if you look at the standings, they were undefeated.
Wow.
They were both 5-0. But even though board 1 with 1.5 and board 4 with 2, two wins doesn't alone do it. You're gonna have to get at least a half a point out of someone else. So it's a team effort, just like any team. So congratulations to the sandwiches, and special shout out to Bright Chess Dragons. If you look at that average rating of 530, fantastic result with 4 out of 5 in this team tournament. We know some of these players may not be playing as much online rated chess since the pandemic. They're probably continuing to play chess in other ways. So their USCF ratings may not be reflective of their skill. So anyway, all right. Thanks, Ashritha and Michael, for joining me on the broadcast and helping me out. And it was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun, actually, to have you call the games. And
Yeah, thank you again for having us.
sure.
Thanks
And
for having us.
have to give a special shout out to the tournament directing staff with Reika Stare and Juan Sendejas, Allison Wang, who volunteered, who's a strong player in her own right, and the chief tournament director, John McCumsky, who ran the computer. The team events can be a challenge, but we had the experience to back up what we were doing. And as always, major props to tournament organizer Judith Stare. Keeps everything on track, and we were able to make a really fast adjustment in a what otherwise would have been a scary moment when we realized the Chess Kid platform would be unavailable to us. So fantastic work, Judith, in getting everything turned around. We had the event, no issues, no drama, except dramatic games. It was a lot of fun. So thank you, all the parents and players, for watching the broadcast and following it. And congratulations once again to the Fallon Sandwiches, the 2021 U.S. Amateur Team West Scholastic Champions. And before we sign out here, let me go to the see who we're going to throw our viewers to, if we can show them a little bit of love with a raid. Be nice if Chess Dojo is streaming right now, because they give us a lot of support and we got some viewers. I don't see them in right now, and I generally don't like to send viewers to people we don't know. We did that once and they were streaming some other, I don't know what it was. So I vowed never again when I don't know what they're doing. So, all right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Mechanics Institute, and thank you to National Master Michael Wang and Women's International Master Ashritha Eswaran. Two-time, how many times have you played the U.S. Women's Championship? Twice? Or 3 times? 4 times. Fantastic. Keep trying. Maybe we'll see you as a champion soon. And thank you, everyone, for watching. This is the Mechanics Institute. Have a good rest of the weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow. Bye, everyone.